just a sampling of the dolls that have come with many of our friends from the Twin Cities area who collect dolls. And we're only going to use first names today. That's because these are so very expensive that, in fact, you have to be very cautious about identification. You are?
I'm June.
And June, the doll is from what year?
About 1850.
Thank you very much. 18, that's amazing to me. This is Jean. I know Jean. She helped put all this together. What about this doll, Jean?
She's an early 1900 doll, but she's rare because she's so breakable. It's a celluloid, a large celluloid.
Thank you. Good morning.
Janet,
And Janet, your doll?
this is a very early French doll.
I don't want to cover you up. There you go. Very early French doll?
Yeah,
What year?
I'm not sure.
But very early. Isn't she beautiful? Good morning.
Kelly,
And Kelly, your doll is?
1890.
Again, the China face. John can explain all of that. I wonder when we went from something other than a China face. Good morning.
This
You
is a lovely German doll, and I think the unique part of her costume are her kid gloves.
For heaven's sakes, can they see that? She's just gorgeous. Look at the eyelashes. And your name is?
Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret, for being here. Good morning.
Chrissy, and this is supposed to be a googly-eyed doll. See, the eyes move back and forth, and this one's a unique boy.
Oh, it is. It's a boy doll. For goodness sakes. And?
I'm Margaret, and this is a Jimu about 1900.
Beautiful. I'm amazed at how delicate the faces are. Good morning.
I'm Anne, and mine is a French Eden baby from about 1900.
And you have a swimming lady as well.
She's about 1870.
John, you better get in here and start riding herd on all of this. In fact, there are a number of other dolls we want to look at.
There are indeed.
Let's come up here, shall we? Because we want them to see perfectly in the light. Your name is?
Valerie.
Valerie. Here, don't go away now. Come right here. There we go. Now, John, you said this is indeed very unique.
Yes. One of the great criteria for judging dolls is their condition. And this is in absolutely perfect condition. It's never been out of its box. It's very rare because the head interchanges, you see.
I'm going to
It's
turn it just
actually
this way, Valerie.
4 dolls in one.
And China heads again.
In China
When
heads.
did we leave China head dolls, John, and go to?
Oddly enough, as late as the 1930s.
Really?
Mhm.
So this, like all the dolls we've just seen, is indeed a rare doll.
This is absolutely super quality.
Thank you, Valerie.
Splendid one.
Thank you. Come on up. Now, this is an interesting doll. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. You are?
Nancy.
Hello, Nancy, yes. Look at the eyes, John.
Frankly, I haven't seen it either, and I'm very excited. This is a doll based on the drawings of Grace Drayton. You know, in the 1900s, she was one of the children's illustrators. She wrote children's books. There were paper dolls, postcards, but the dolls of her children are very, very rare. And this one, which is a little boy called Bobby Bounce, I've never ever seen before. It may very well be the only one there is.
Now, I realize that you all have probably sources, and since you're in clubs, but where does one locate things like this? Are you one of those who goes to every garage sale in the world, Nancy?
No, I think I've been to one garage sale in my life, but it's fun to be in a club, Nancy. And this is how you learn about dolls, besides reading. And then, through members of your club, quite often you will come up with a doll that you like. That's how I came across this little friend here.
It's just great.
You should also mention that it's a great fellowship.
Oh.
We have friends right across the nation.
Very, very true.
Thank you, Nancy. This, John, you suggest to us, is perhaps is a French doll?
This is a French doll, and I am excited by it because you could not possibly find anything better.
And
This-
I didn't ask her name. Excuse me, John.
Ruth.
Hello, Ruth. Yes.
Ruth's doll is the finest quality that ever was. It was made at the time when the French dolls were great luxury items, and this is the best of the French
This
dolls.
is glazed. Is this porcelain?
Glazed porcelain with inset handmade china eyes.
Look at that case.
I wonder, Ruth, do you think we could quickly take the bonnet off so we could see how very pretty she has? Most beautiful neck.
Oh,
Isn't she lovely?
well, look at the hair. What
A doll like that, when it was new in the 1860s, would have cost $300.
in the 1860s
Yes.
this cost $300?
Yes, yes.
Oh my heavens, you can't
There
hardly
was no finer
guess
doll.
at the
And
value
that, of
today.
course, is her original dress, which is so
Can I do this?
terribly
I'm
important.
dying to. Oh, look at now. You have, I mean, pardon us if you're offended, but they are indeed complete. She has on stockings, beautiful bloomers that are crocheted along the
And
edges.
the most beautiful jointed leather body.
John, before we run out of time, you tell us that this doll is unique literally in the
Yes.
world. Come on up quickly, will you? What is your name?
I'm Marilyn.
Marilyn and John, look at this doll. I've never seen anything like
Yes, I've only ever seen one other. It's from the 18th century. It's solid wax. It has no body from the waist down. There's a stick and there's a cloth body sewn on. Extremely rare and wonderful.
Look at this.
I imagine Italian. It's not like any other wax doll we've ever seen.
It's an extraordinary face.
And it is interesting that it's a baby.
Thank you all for coming today. And the ladies tell us if you're interested in being involved in doll collecting, contact the historical societies. They can tell you where the clubs are and who to talk to. John, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I enjoyed this
I did
enormously.
too.
Thank
I did
you.
too.
We're going to be back. Get your pencil and paper. If you have children you know are perfect for the movie Annie, the casting director's in town. This one you can't adopt. This is Sandy. Sandy happens to be stuffed, but he represents, of course, Orphan Annie. And Annie has been a hit on Broadway for years. It's going to become a movie with Columbia Pictures, and Garrison True is the man who has been assigned to literally travel the country to find
my
Annie.
friend.
Yes.
He's been cuddled and petted by more little girls than any stuffed animal in the country. And I'm sure by the time we finish this 21-city tour, he will be touched and petted by about 10,000 little girls.
Out of these 21 cities, John, Garrison, excuse me, you hope indeed to find the Annie, and you're holding auditions here in the Twin
Right.
Cities.
Yeah, we're going to be here at the Children's Theater on Wednesday,
The 13th of
the
August.
13th at 10 a.m.
And
We start at 10 a.m.
now every mother listening knows that her daughter is the next Annie starring in your motion picture. What are you really looking for?
Well, I'm looking for a real-life doll. A little girl that you like being around, personality, confidence, someone that when you go to a movie and you sit and watch on the screen for 2.5 hours, you just care about her all the way, every minute of it.
She also has to be able to sing and dance up
Yeah,
a
that's the
storm.
challenge, right.
And
I'm
she
su-
has to be small.
Right.
What age range are you looking
Well, Annie's 10 years old in the film. We start in June, so I'm looking more or less at 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds. I'm not locked into any age, except I don't want to go beyond 11. I want to stay in that lower age range.
for? And it is an open audition.
Right.
Anybody can come.
Right,
10
and
a.m. at Children's
just
Theater.
show up, and we have scene work that we do, and we do some singing, and they don't have to bring their music. We have all that. We have the scenes that we're going to work with them on, and I'm hoping, this is another city, and I'm hoping to find her here.
Well, we're going to come over with our cameras and tape it so we can share the Annie auditions with our audience later. I don't envy your job in the least.
Why? I have the best job in the country.
Garrison True. He's auditioning for Annie in the Twin Cities. You might be living with Annie right now. Thank you,
Thank you.
Garrison.
Thank you.
And we'll be back on Monday. You have a good weekend.
This is What's New, taking a look at you and your world. The unusual, the entertaining, and the stimulating. With Warren Martin, Nancy Nelson, and Gil Amundson to let you know what's new.
Good morning. It's nice to see you today. I hope you had a good weekend. I had a fabulous weekend.
Well, do you want to tell us about it? What did you do?
Yes, I went to my 15th high school reunion.
Oh, yeah?
And I know people get those invitations and they think, oh, I don't care, I don't want to go. It is such a happy thing.
I went to one of mine. I was really concerned. I had not been back there since I graduated. I got there, and I was really concerned I wasn't going to know anybody. The first guy came up to me, one of my, very close friend, and he said, "Hey, I bet you don't remember me. How could I forget you, Pete?" He said, "My name is Joe." And that's the way it went down there. Didn't have a good time, though. I had a good time visiting the great city of Detroit. I was there for a few days. I was there for a convention. The rest of the Republicans had left 3 weeks earlier. No, it wasn't the Republican convention. It was another convention.
Yes, and we're glad to have you back. As a matter of fact, we're going to put you right over there in the kitchen today with our own Mel Jass.
Chef Mel. You've heard of Chef Tell? We have Chef Mel. And he's got a dynamite recipe for you. I think you're going to like it.
All right, and we're also going to take a look at a package piece we did on our Twin Cities lakes with water vehicles. You know, they've got surfers, they've got water bikes, they've got these big tubes that bump into each other. They're all motorized and all safe.
Having had a little preview of this, I think you're going to enjoy it very much. Right now, it's time for Gil Amundson to report to you what's new. Good morning, Gil.
Good morning. Our weather should improve as the day moves along. Partly cloudy skies later today, have a high about 80, and we'll have more on that a bit later in the news. Sunday 11 at 5:30 this afternoon. Now, once again, Nancy and Warren.
Thank you, Gil, very much. We're going to take a commercial message, and then we're going to get on a water bike and a surf jet. You'll love it.
And the aroma coming out of the kitchen from Mel Jass' secret recipe is wonderful. That's ahead.
Jim, what are these vehicles that we're seeing today?
Well, they're more or less water toys. Like the old saying we have, the difference between men and boys is the price of their toys.
Are these expensive toys?
The surf jet here, which is a motorized surfboard, starting out at suggested retail $16.95. The wet bikes.
That's not $16.95. That's $1,695.
Correct. The wet bikes are $2,795, which isn't too bad when you consider they have a 50-horse outboard engine in them, and the 50-horse outboards today sell for around $2,300, which is $2,300.
Are these the sort of things that a private party can own and enjoy?
Yes, definitely they are. We've got people with the energy situation the way it is today, trading in their inboard outboards and going to this type of a water vehicle for the fuel consumption, which is much less than an inboard or an outboard.
If we have a lot of people doing that, what is the safety factor on these machines?
They are very, very safe. In fact, I would have to say they're safer than a boat. They've got what they call automatic shut-off throttles. When you let go, it shuts down. And in addition, they have what they call a tether switch, which electronically shuts the motor off. So I'd say they're probably way more safe than a boat. The surf jet is what we would call a motorized surfboard. You do not need wind such as we have here today. You can go out on a calm day and use it basically the same way you do what they call, which is getting very popular, this windsurfing. This you don't need wind for, and you handle it identically the same with body English.
So it just takes a little balance and definition before you're good at it.
Correct. That's all that it really needs on it. They're very, very new. This year is the first year they're out with them, and the response from the public has been very, very good on them so far.
How fast will it go?
They'll run about 26 to 28 miles an hour. Okay, that is called the wet bike, and what that is a motorcycle on water, is what it's defined as. However, it does have a 50 horsepower engine in it. You can ride double, you can pull water skiers with it, and the only thing I know you can't use it for is go fishing, although we got people that fish with them too. That is something very, very new with the energy situation, the way we have it, people looking for more economical stuff. It's called the Sundance. It's a product of Arctic, which also has the wet bike, but it is a smaller configuration of a boat where it's more fuel efficient, very easy to haul with the compact cars. This, what I might mention, is really entering the picture with the X-frame cars and all the small cars we've got. They cannot pull big boats and motors. And that's the main key to the products such as we're seeing here today, the Surf Jet Wet Bike and Sundance. They can be pulled with a small car. You can still go water skiing and still take the family out and have a lot of fun at a very, very economical cost.
Are there some restrictions on certain lakes as to which of these motorized vehicles you can and cannot use?
Well, to my knowledge, most of the lakes around here, they're legal on all of them, except you get into the lakes where they have a 10 horsepower rating. The water bugs could go there because they're under 10 horse. They're powered by a little 2 horsepower Suzuki engine.
What about the things that look like inner tubes with motors inside of them?
Okay, those are something very, very new to the area. They're very popular east, west coast, down in Florida. The Dells is getting very popular with them. They're what we call a bumper boat. And I can't say right now where you're going to be seeing them at because we haven't negotiated, but you're going to see them at your major amusement parks around probably next year. And it's a play toy where you just go out and, like bumper cars are at amusement parks, these are bumper boats. However, I might mention we've got quite a few of our customers that want them for their company parties because they are really a lot of fun.
We all know Mel Jass and his many outstanding attributes and qualities. You may not know that Mel is quite a man around the kitchen and around the grill as well. And Mel, it's a pleasure to have you here this morning.
Thank you, Warren.
Now, what is the recipe you're going to show us today?
Well, when my 5 kids, our 5 kids, were growing up, we loved to barbecue in the backyard. About all we could afford was hamburger.
Okay.
And some of the kids says, well, Dad, I don't want onion, I don't want tomato, I don't want this, I don't want that. But we wanted them to get these extra ingredients in the hamburger.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about it, and I figured, well, I'll take a nice piece of ground beef.
How much do you have there?
Oh, this is just a pound. I've got another pound here, and these are just about done.
Okay.
Now, what we do, after you flatten it out to the desired size so you can cut it in quarters like this when you get through, you start with your ingredients, chopped tomatoes.
Is there something I may do for you
Yes,
here in the
will you
meantime?
chop up some pepper there for
Sure,
me,
okay.
please?
You want this quite tiny?
Yeah, and I need some chopped mushrooms, too.
Okay.
Now, you put the tomatoes on. Don't overload it because this is what gives you the moisture. You know how often you'll do a hamburger that comes out real dry? Well, this gives you the moisture and a very good flavor. Now you take, I've got here, which my wife did this morning. Thank you, honey.
Thank you for not giving me the job of chopping the onions, Mel. I appreciate that.
She chopped the onions for me. As I say, don't overload it. I have a tendency when I'm doing it to overload it because I love all these ingredients.
Okay.
Okay, that should be enough. Get a little more on this corner. There's a lot more goes on here. Now,
How much
when
of
you
the green?
get those, that'll be plenty on
Right
the...
there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I use a little Leon Perrins because this is a good meat extract and it gives a good flavor to it. And then for spice, I'm a lover of the hot foods, so a little Tabasco sprinkled around, not too much. Then I like to put a little garlic powder. Now, I never use garlic salt because garlic salt is just about 75% salt and 25% garlic. And it makes your food awfully salty.
I did, however, see you, Mel, earlier in these that you were whipping up to show us our finished product, putting in quite a bit of salt. You're convinced that in
Oh, yeah,
moderation
but
that's not going to bother us, is that it?
No, but I don't like the garlic salt because that's really loaded with salt. A little salt. I'm waiting on the mushrooms, huh?
Okay, here they come, here they come, here they come.
Let's go there.
Okay.
Let's get them.
Okay, there you
You
go.
can pepper it up pretty good.
generally? Sprinkles around here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got any more?
Well, a few. You want some more?
Yeah, a few more.
More green joy on there?
Yeah, a little green joy. That's plenty. A little more mushrooms if you got it.
Okay.
Now what you've got to do at this point is start working this into the meat. Because if it just lays on top, it's going to scorch and the flavor won't get down into the meat. So you press it, press it, press it. Work it down into the meat. Now you're going to end up with a moist burger with mushrooms, onions, tomato, green pepper. Oh, that's fine. Not over there, Warren.
Okay,
Here.
well, we'll get it right back there. No problem. There we go. Why don't you just mix it all up in one container and then flatten it out? You like this system better?
I'll tell you why. I used to try that. You know, take a bowl, put it all in.
Right.
And as hard as you try, you're liable to end up with a lump of onions here, one side, and a lump of green pepper over here. But it just takes forever. This way that you know it's evenly distributed. Now, do you want to see what these look like when they're done?
Anxious to look.
Who's going to do this for me? They're just delicious.
Now, you haven't turned these over, have you, Mel?
See the color? No, I don't turn them. Unless somebody wants one real well done. Then I tell them to eat at home. These are medium to rare. And if you turn them, all you're going to do is burn all the nice goodies on the top. And these are well cooked now. We can just serve these.
So do you cover those at all while they're cooking in? Do you cook everything
Yes,
on top?
I do, to start with. It gives a little steaming effect.
They look beautiful.
But I wish you could smell these. These really have got a nice odor. And by the way, I use regular hamburger. Even though you get a little residue, most of that fat in the hamburger cooks off, but that's where your flavor is. In talking to meat people, if you buy this extra lean stuff, it just doesn't have the flavor that, we'll say, a choice steak or a prime steak would have.
With all the marbling?
Yeah, where it's all marbled through with fat. Now, most of that fat drips off. If we were outside, we would have done this on a barbecue. And there's another interesting point. You get no flavor out of the charcoal. All the flavor comes from the grease dripping and the grease burning, and that's your charcoal flavor.
Now you have a little more barbecue sauce. Do you want to add some of that to it?
We've got, this is how we top it off now. And if you use a fork, if you don't have one of those, you know, fancy brushes like the rich people have, it's much easier to spread because it comes out of the tines. Well, there you are, Mel burgers.
Mel burgers. They're beautiful. I'm anxious to try one. Can I have a sample of one here?
Yes, sir. And I've got the tops for them right here.
They're gorgeous, Mel.
Fix yourself up one there.
Let's see
Don't burn yourself.
Yeah,
They're pretty hot.
I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll just let this cool, but I'll tell you.
And I promised
the
Jim
aroma's
Hill
outstanding.
and Don one, too.
Mel Jass, thanks for coming in the kitchen.
Hey, how do you
Great
like...
idea.
This is my wife's makeup smock.
Oh,
We didn't have a...
I'm glad you're not pregnant. I was concerned. We'll be right back with more of What's New after this. We have added an additional guest here to our set, and this is a rather unusual dog.
Well, he is. Normally, you know, we have dogs for adoption. Believe me, this dog doesn't need a home. He's got a very good one. His name is Ivan, and I want you to see him because he's a very unusual dog. He's a Rottweiler. That's a German breed, and you can see he looks like he's got a St. Bernard head. He's got some Doberman coloring.
Definitely the tail and the black's reminiscent of a Doberman, isn't it?
They were in the movie The Omen, and they were called the Devil Dogs. And interestingly enough, back to Roman times, these dogs were used. People would strap their valuables, their money, their jewels around the dog's neck, and that was the way they protected them from theft.
And this is
the
Ivan.
Rottweiler.
Ivan, how you doing there, boy? Huh? You're looking good. Oh, yes.
He's only
yes.
a puppy. He's going to get a lot bigger.
How big's he going to be when he grows up, Barb? 125 pounds of love right here in one Rottweiler.
He lives with Barb Walker, who will be here tomorrow with the Raptor Rehabilitation Program from the University of Minnesota. Some beautiful hawks and birds that we'll be telling you about.
We'll also visit with one of the most widely read authors alive today, Mr. Irving Stone. His latest effort is an incredible volume called The Origin. It talks about Charles Darwin and his natural history, some of the things that occurred to him and how he came up with the so-called theory of evolution. That will happen tomorrow on What's New at 11. We'd love to have you join us.
Have a good day.